We're just 2 weeks away from the premiere of Tron Ares. In a matter of days, we'll return to the grid and witness what happens when artificial intelligence escapes its creator's control and brings humanity to the brink of extinction.
We came here from the digital world for one reason: war.
But what events led Ares to become a danger to humanity, and where is Tron? I'm a GloomyGeek, and today I'll be recapping the 5 darkest Tron theories, from why CLU was right to Tron's whereabouts. Is he even alive?
They are coming here. I would like you to meet Ares, the ultimate soldier.
Number 5. Was CLU right? To help you understand why CLU was right and Kevin Flynn was wrong, let's take a trip down Tron's memory lane. After Flynn's creations were stolen by another MCOM software developer, Kevin developed new programs to hack into the company's system to break into the network to find proof that his games had been stolen. He called this hacking program Codified Likeness Utility, or CLU. The meaning behind the name is that the program is created in the user's image, not just in appearance, but also in goals and desires. Of course, like all programs, CLU has its limitations. CLU's original purpose was to find the necessary proof to expose Ed Dillinger as a thief and a fraud for stealing Kevin Flynn's video game software. But CLU's programmed desire for justice would turn into something much darker and more terrifying. Flynn does manage to prove that the games belong to him, and Tron defeats the Master Control program. After Flynn takes control of MCOM, he goes on a journey to create a new version of CLU with a new goal in mind: to create the perfect world.
You are CLU. I am CLU. You will create the perfect system. I will create the perfect system.
Together we're gonna change the world, man.
One thing you need to understand about Kevin Flynn is that he never agreed with the world around him. Despite being one of the best program developers of his time, he lived alone in an apartment above an arcade. Flynn longed to create a perfect world free from human problems. The grid became his life's work, especially after his wife died. He soon began to favor the computer world over the real world, as the grid was freed from the chaos of human society. With the help of CLU and Tron, Kevin dedicated himself to making the grid perfect. The new updated CLU was made to create a perfect system, but there was something Flynn didn't count on. Perhaps the chaos that caused his wife's death in the human world was what brought new life to the computer world. And since he programmed CLU to seek perfection, there was now a major incompatibility with CLU's programming.
Everything's under control. Flynn! Am I still to create the perfect system? Yeah.
When the ISOs appeared, Flynn saw them as a miracle within the grid, an unexpected miracle, but CLU saw them as an error in the system. If Flynn had to create CLU to create and control a perfect digital world, supporting a miracle that introduces chaos into the equation would be pointless. CLU realized that. Despite being a carbon copy of Kevin Flynn, they had a difference of opinion regarding the ISOs.
The ISOs, they were gonna be my gift to the world.
So what happened?
CLU happened.
Kevin was willing to accept chaos and even romanticize unpredictable disorder, but CLU was not. The existence of a spontaneous race was unacceptable, and he would eliminate them, even though it went against his creator's wishes. At the end of his journey in Tron Legacy, CLU tries to stop Sam and Cora from escaping to the human world. What he is doing is trying to stop the ISO, the error, from escaping.
You broke your promise. I know. I understand that now. I took the system to its maximum potential. I created the perfect system. The thing about perfection is that it's unknowable.
However, he is stopped by Flynn and then absorbed by his creator, returning from whence he came, which led us to wonder, why didn't Kevin Flynn do this sooner? Something feels off, doesn't it? After CLU annihilated the ISOs, Flynn realized that maybe CLU was right. Thus, he isolated himself and spent years studying philosophical scriptures to hopefully find a new truth that could justify why chaos should be defended.
Flynn shared them with me. I've read them all.
Huh.
Light reading. Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, I Ching. Journey without goal. Must have a killer ending.
Flynn is teaching me about the art of the selfless, about removing oneself from the equation.
I created the perfect system. The thing about perfection is that it's unknowable. It's impossible, but it's also right in front of us all the time. You wouldn't know that because I didn't when I created you.
Once he was face to face with his creation, Kevin tried to offer CLU his best philosophical argument, but instead of giving him a rational and logical answer, he gives an ambiguous, emotional charged response, something that doesn't reflect a creator, but rather an emotional human. CLU couldn't accept his creator's reasoning.
Why? He's my son.
The program wasn't fighting to conquer the world. He was fighting to save it from the chaos his creator could no longer contain. Kevin's integrative embrace of CLU is the perfect demonstration that he didn't reject CLU. CLU was a part of him, the part that wanted nothing more than to create the perfect world. But Kevin realized that achieving that perfection meant sacrificing his son, and he wasn't going to allow that. He was a god who allowed chaos to enter his perfect world, labeling it as a miracle. Flynn didn't stop CLU sooner because deep down, he knew he was right. Now to clarify, Flynn didn't destroy CLU. He absorbed him. It wasn't an act of punishment, but of recognition, of acceptance. However, in doing so, he unleashed something worse on the human world, because even though he managed to stop CLU, perhaps the spirit of Ares was already brewing in the shadows. CLU's successor, a corrupted ISO or a program that seeks revenge, or worse, control. The plot of Tron Ares takes place over a decade after Tron Legacy, and the previews show how the grid is invading the human world, how logic is causing chaos, and it's only a matter of time before there is a full-scale war between the two worlds. Now, how does Ares and CLU's paths connect? Not much is known about the movie's plot. However, the film's synopsis state that Tron Ares is about what happens after artificial intelligence interacts with humans in the real world, and the AI's search for purpose. And this is one of the most relevant concerns of our time. Many are worried about the dangers of a rogue AI, but the real danger is of an artificial intelligence that is a little bit too compliant with its creator's orders. For example, if Ares was created to regain power for the Dillinger family by bringing order to MCOM, it may have started as a simple financial program that went on to invade the world. That's a massive jump in functions. For Ares to bring order to ENCOM, it may have to disrupt the system. Remember that the Master Control program was a program that took on a will of its own and disobeyed its creator, but it also came from humble beginnings as a simple program that could play chess. Ares may be a program that, like CLU, follows his parameters too well, which is a problem. If following Dillinger's orders means that Ares must cause chaos in the human world, then there will be plenty of chaos. Another interesting possibility is that just as CLU was Kevin Flynn's codified likeness utility, Ares may be Dillinger's CLU, created in his version of the grid. And, like Flynn's CLU, he rebelled against his creator, escaped to the real world, and trapped his creator inside the grid. If so, then we could have a new CLU in the Dillinger family lineage. And perhaps the biggest piece of evidence that supports this theory is found on the back of Ares's bodysuit, right above his identity triangle. It reads the word Dillinger. So what does all this mean? Ares could be CLU's successor, his backup plan to invade the human world, or he could be Julian Dillinger's creation that invades the world, thus showing that a Dillinger is destined to create the bringer of the end of the world. So what do you think? Is Ares CLU's backup plan? Was CLU right? And was it Kevin Flynn who got in his way of creating the perfect system? Number 4. The Dillingers are the true villains. First, there was Edward Dillinger Sr., an ENCOM employee who used every dirty trick in the book to take control over the company. Ed Dillinger created the Master Control program and rose to power until the program he modified betrayed him. Ed was later exposed as a thief and was removed from the company, but it wouldn't be long until a new Dillinger is employed by ENCOM. After Edward Dillinger was fired, he attempted to take control of Encom again through a rival company. The man even tried to replicate Kevin Flynn's technology to sell it to other companies. Despite Edward Dillinger's actions against Encom and Kevin Flynn, Alan Bradley, Flynn's closest friend, surprisingly allowed Edward Dillinger Jr.'s continued employment at the company. Although Jr. seemed to be the only competent employee within Encom, he was following his father's footsteps, using Kevin Flynn's programs to feed a monster that was thought to be dead. Yes, the MCP was destroyed at the end of Tron 1982, but there is a small detail about the program that many seem to always forget. The Master Control program originated from a chess program that Edward Sr. modified. In other words, it was a program that Dillinger corrupted into creation, and just as he created it once, he could have saved copies of the corrupted program and created it again. And the bonus features on the Tron Legacy Blu-ray confirmed this suspicion. In one of the clips, Jr. is presumably communicating with the MCP, who warns him not to underestimate Sam Flynn.
Yes. There must be a problem. He may not be his father, but he's still a Flynn. Don't underestimate him. End of line.
This revelation confirms that the Master Control is still functioning, and that the Dillingers continue to follow its instructions. Many fans believe that Tron Ares will ignore or retcon Tron Legacy, but we are not so sure. Ares may still be more connected to the past films than the fans think. More than a decade has passed since Sam and Cora escaped from the grid, but the creator's son and the miracle he brought with him seem to have been forgotten. Humanity now faces the newest digital threat, born from the darkness of Dillinger's soul. According to the statements by Ares actor Jared Leto, Leto stated that he will play the new Master Control program created by the Dillingers.
I play Ares, who's Master Control of the Dillinger security grid.
And there you have it. The actor confirmed two major theories about the film. First, the MCP is still alive, and second, the grid in Tron Ares is neither the original grid from the first film, nor the grid created by Kevin Flynn in Legacy. It's a new system, built by the Dillinger family to take control of the world, without the protection of a Tron-type program, and created to be 100% efficient. This is a grid that no one can control. Now we understand why the grid appears completely red in the teaser. In this digital world, there is no freedom, only ambitions of control and power. Remember that in the pursuit of perfection and efficiency, something inexplicable, like an anomaly or a miracle, can occur. The ISOs may have been born from Kevin Flynn's ambitions for perfection and the betterment of humanity. Likewise, the darkness of Dillinger's soul could have birthed something terrible. This new version of the Master Control program, incarnated as an ISO. Tron Legacy showed that when Kevin Flynn reached a certain level of development in the grid, the ISOs began to appear. Spontaneous and incredibly powerful digital life forms. They were the secret to human progress. It's not unusual that when a large company unveils new groundbreaking tech, rival companies will quickly try to copy that technology. So it is possible that when Sam revealed Cora's origins to Encom, the Dillingers tried to replicate Flynn's grid to create their own versions of this miracle program turned human. Now what if the Dillingers were successful in creating new ISOs inside the Dillinger grid? What if Ares is an ISO of said grid that has been corrupted by the Master Control program? Julian Dillinger may be the key to everything. Julian Dillinger's role is a secret that will soon be revealed. Some believe he is the grandson of Edward Dillinger Sr., the son of Edward Jr. Regardless, what is clear is that he will fulfill his family's destiny. In a selfish attempt to seize power, he will unleash the greatest threat humanity has ever faced. And if the theory that the Dillingers are trying to replicate the ISOs is correct, Julian will be the one to open the door for Ares to escape into the human world. Sam followed in his father's footsteps. He found the entrance to the grid that his father created. Perhaps Julian did something similar. He found something that his father or grandfather created. He could have found access to another grid, a perversion of Kevin Flynn's creation. Julian uncovers a network that his family copied from Flynn's original technology and other stolen ideas and programs from Encom. History tends to repeat itself, and now Julian Dillinger will finish what his predecessor started. This time, thanks to Julian, the Master Control program will escape from the grid. The arrival of Ares. Number 3. Is Tron dead? To understand what happened to Tron at the end of Legacy, we must first go through his origin. In the 1980s, Encom was growing into one of the largest tech companies in the world. Around that time, one of the company's brightest programmers, Alan Bradley, realized that the Grid, an Encom virtual testing platform, lacked a proper defense system. Alan knew that he needed to create a system guardian, an antivirus of sorts, that could protect the users and confront internal and external threats. It was from this need that Tron was born, the first Guardian program that defended the interests of the users.
What's the project you're working on?
Well, it's called Tron. It's a security program itself, actually. It monitors all contacts between our system and other systems. Finds anything going on that's not scheduled, it shuts it down. I sent you a memo on it.
Part of the Master Control program?
No, it'll run independently. And watchdog the MCP as well.
Sounds good.
Tron is the greatest warrior to have ever existed on the Grid. He is an expert in disc combat, and the only one thus far to have wielded 2 discs simultaneously. Tron is a natural strategist, tactician, and leader, but he is not a neutral program. He is a program that will always fight on behalf of its users. Or at least he did, until Kevin Flynn's actions began to corrupt him. The deception of his friend and creator of the new Grid, Kevin Flynn, led Tron to become the very thing he had always sought to destroy. Tron would become the fallen guardian who would help purge Flynn's creation into a digital hellscape. Flynn's betrayal at the hands of his creation, CLU, did not happen overnight. It was the absence of God, Flynn, that threw the Grid into chaos. Kevin Flynn had to balance his life between 2 worlds, but he failed to uphold his responsibilities in either, and this disappointed Flynn's family, CLU and Tron alike. In the Tron comic book, Tron is trying to understand Kevin Flynn's reasoning after he lied to Tron and CLU. So it seemed that Tron's transformation into Rinsler was due to a gradual shift in philosophy and viewpoint, rather than a forced reprogramming. When CLU betrayed Flynn, he attacked Tron. In the flashback in Tron Legacy, it seemed that CLU killed Tron, but Tron did not die that day. He survived. He was wounded and managed to escape from CLU. After nearly being de-rezzed, Tron sought a successor by training other programs. Yet he would eventually fall into the clutches of CLU and be reprogrammed, turning into Rinsler. It is not entirely clear how or when this happened, but Tron's hope was erased, changing his colors from blue to orange, symbolizing forced reprogramming. Sam Flynn's arrival on the Grid and Kevin's return from isolation to confront CLU reactivated something within Tron that was thought to be extinguished. He remembers that he fights for the users. This pivotal moment not only showed that Tron still had the strength to resist the reprogramming imposed by CLU, but by sacrificing himself, he made it clear that his loyalty to the users was stronger than any corruption. That final gesture was proof that Tron never stopped being the Guardian, capable of defying even the system that tried to erase him. But what happened to Tron afterward? Near the end of Tron Legacy, Tron falls into the sea of simulation, where we see as he sinks, his colors change, as if he were being cleansed. So what exactly happened here? Could the sea be where the hero will re-emerge stronger than ever? Or will we never see Tron again? To understand what happened to Tron, we must learn what the sea of simulation is. The waters, or sea inside the Grid, are much more than a simple digital backdrop. It is the definitive frontier between the artificial and the unknown, the limits before oblivion. In appearance, it is a vast expanse of liquid light and pure code, an endless ocean that surrounds the limits of the Grid. It is said that within its waters flows the essence of the system's source, the oldest code, almost as if it were the beginning and end of all digital life. However, despite its importance, the sea is shrouded in mystery. a territory that neither users nor programs have ever been able to fully understand. Within the history of the grid, it is known that programs can fly over the sea and even swim its shallow waters. Yet it's believed that any program that fell into the deep sea of simulation would be de-resed, losing its shape and its memory, dissolving into the ocean of data, never to return. But the sea is also where the impossible happens. From the sea of simulation emerged the ISOs, spontaneous programs that were not created by any user, but emerged naturally, life born from digital chaos. The ISOs represent a miracle to some and a threat to others, as their existence challenges everything that is known about digital creation. Over time, the sea of simulation was polluted, poisoned by the fear and control that CLU sought to impose, hoping to eliminate any anomaly that might challenge his regime. You could say that the sea of simulation is similar to the sea of the earth, but it operates between the limits of the artificial and the unknown. But the moment Tron falls into the sea, what was supposed to happen doesn't happen, and that's because Tron is not like any other program. Any other program would have de-resed once fallen into the sea, but Tron, his color simply changed, returning to his original state. Although the moment was short, this is evidence that Tron returned to his purest state right before Flynn merged with CLU. And the fact that Tron survived the sea and was simply cleansed of the corruption caused by CLU, Tron may have also survived the explosion at the end of Tron Legacy. After all, Tron was created to monitor all programs and the grid, and I believe this is where Tron's secret lies. Tron may be more powerful than even he thinks. The reason why Tron could defeat the Master Control program, as well as demonstrate his remarkable abilities, is that Alan created him from the start to be resilient and to be able to reboot himself by touching the source. As in the sea, Tron is the most advanced Guardian program ever, and his story is not over yet. Will Tron face Ares in the human world? Since Alan Bradley chose to keep the Dillingers in Encom, will we see a new corrupt version of Tron? Or will Tron once again be missing in action? Or worse, what if the hero has become the villain? Tron is the only program that has proven it can fulfill a purpose beyond its assigned one, to fight like no other and survive the sea of simulation. If there's anyone who can face the imminent arrival of Ares to save humanity, it's Tron. He was created for that purpose, and I think that's the most interesting aspect of this story. Tron, the hero of the grid, becomes the hero of the world. The myth that became reality, the computer program that fought for the users and saved the world. The fight between Tron and Ares is inevitable. So what do you think? Will Tron return in Tron Ares? Would you like to see the two programs duke it out in the human world? Number 2. Did Kevin merge with CLU?
How can he be so afraid of his own creation? I mean, he built CLU. Why doesn't he just end him?
He could, but it would require reintegration.
Yeah, all right.
Flynn would never survive the event. It would mean the end of them both.
To create CLU, Kevin Flynn had to make a literal digital clone of himself within the grid. It could also be said that his digital clone, CLU, was an extension of his consciousness, a version of himself, but without the emotional limitations, who didn't allow for mistakes, and who was constantly seeking to improve the system, but always functioned, again, as an extension of Flynn. They were an entity divided into two, but in the reunion of Flynn and CLU at the end of Tron Legacy, absolute logic and human emotions merged. Kevin Flynn's sacrifice was what Cora feared the most, but this selfless act of a father means so much more. What if Kevin Flynn did cease to exist, as Cora prophesied, but something new was created in his place? What happens when two opposing identities unite after being separated for years, bringing into existence something unexpected that inherits the desire for perfection and with the will to live? In one of my previous videos, we discussed how colors are used in the world of Tron to convey visual messages. For example, red often signifies authoritarianism and control, while blue signifies faith and what is good. It's no coincidence that at the end of Tron Legacy, when Kevin absorbed CLU, it created an explosion of colors. What we saw was a set of ideologies, and the selfish part of Flynn, who always sought perfection and who nearly destroyed his son, finally being reintegrated with Kevin Flynn. What happened at the end of Tron Legacy wasn't a sacrifice, but a resurrection. It was the moment Kevin Flynn accepted that he and CLU are the same. Kevin stopped being only Kevin and became a hybrid of both. Cora wasn't wrong. Kevin Flynn did cease to exist that day, and in his place now exists something different, something greater. During the most recent D23 Disney Expo, images of Tron Ares were shown, but they went unnoticed. Those images could change everything we think we know about Kevin Flynn's fate. Some of the visuals were the appearance of the older version of the grid, likely the same one from the original Tron film, and also an elderly Kevin Flynn. Kevin Flynn's return means the theory that he lives is true, and that what we saw at the end of Legacy was the union between CLU and Kevin, or the transformation of the two into a third identity. This image of Flynn suggests that he never ceased to exist in the grid, and that after absorbing CLU and causing that explosion, a profound change occurred within him. Perhaps it was at that moment that Flynn embraced the part of himself that he had so avoided, his obsession with perfection, his need to fix everything, and his fear of making mistakes. He stopped being a creator or a father seeking redemption. He became someone who is completed, capable of accepting his mistakes and his dark side. But he also acquired all of CLU's knowledge, making him far more human. He has become the archetype of the imperfect God who has finally found peace. This doesn't mean that he isn't needed. If there is one constant in the Tron franchise, is that the world needs Kevin Flynn. And if Ares is the one who will continue the Dillingers' aspiration for control, perhaps the imperfect God will have to return one last time. Could Tron Ares be about the second coming of Kevin Flynn?
Join visionary Kevin Flynn, author of Structure and Dynamics in Advanced Computer Programming, as he takes us even deeper into the digital frontier.
Evolution is the greatest force in the material world. It has the potential to cause the greatest paradigm shift in the history of mankind. This will unleash the power of human intelligence.
Join Kevin Flynn on an exploration into the digital frontier.
Get your copy today at Center City Books.
After the apparent destruction of the grid in Tron Legacy, perhaps if Kevin Flynn survived and began to create a new world, his original creative desire could have been replaced by something else. Flynn had already grown as a character in Tron 2, from being a transhumanistic visionary to a hermit philosopher within the grid. But maybe what could have happened is that after Flynn embraced CLU, he wouldn't repeat his past mistakes. Perhaps he would return to the place where he still felt hope, a place where he first experienced miracles, the original NCOM grid. If the grid that we saw in the D23 previews is the original 1982 grid, then Flynn has transformed this place into his own Mount Olympus, his personal escape. And as in the other films, Flynn, or this new version of Flynn, is waiting to fulfill his purpose. What purpose am I referring to? Well, in the original Tron film, after leaving NCOM, Flynn built an arcade so that people could play the revolutionary games he created, which the head of NCOM, Edward Dillinger, had stolen from him. NCOM, the corporation, needed Flynn to be their moral compass, but Dillinger slithered his way into a position of power and got rid of Flynn. The same thing occurs in Tron Legacy. Kevin Flynn once again lost the rights to his creation, as CLU took the grid away from Flynn and forced him into isolation. So rather than Tron being the story of a program that believes in the users, in actuality it is the story of a user who continually misses the call to save the world because he wasn't yet fully prepared to face the challenges. But once he absorbed CLU, Kevin Flynn gained what he was missing and turned into an entity that could find beauty in both perfection and chaos. Now what happens if another one of his creations is corrupted again by a Dillinger, and this corrupted program finds its way to the human world? Will Kevin once again be missing in action, or will he come forth and embrace his role as the hero both worlds need?
Space paranoids among us! So what are you going to do about it?
Deep in space and far
Although Ares' arrival looks destructive in the teaser trailer, his words reveal that he seeks more than destruction. He wants to find purpose. I believe that's where his story intersects with Kevin Flynn's. In his quest, Ares will end up in the original 1982 Encom grid, and the older but improved Kevin Flynn will show Ares that the answer he seeks isn't found in absolute control, but in becoming something more, a harmonious combination of program and human, just like what Kevin Flynn is now. Perhaps that was the next step he alluded to in Tron Legacy.
In there is a new world. In there is our future. In there is our destiny.
For years, Flynn avoided confrontation with the Dillingers, but he can't anymore. I think in this film, we'll see the elder Kevin Flynn confront the new Master Control program, Ares, and the Dillingers in what could be his final adventure. And once Kevin is gone, that might prompt Sam to return. That is, if he is alive. But that is a topic for another day. And number 1 was the Master Control program, right? To understand what the Master Control program is and how it will affect the next film in the Tron saga, we once again have to backtrack to the beginning, before the grid, when Encom was still a promising company with untapped potential. It was in 1982 that Edward Dillinger inadvertently unleashed the Master Control program, a program that nearly took over the world. How did an insignificant program become the greatest threat that ever existed?
Do you realize how many outside systems I've gone into? How many programs I've appropriated?
The Master Control program began as a chess program created by Walter Gibbs, Kevin Flynn's mentor. As we've mentioned in previous videos, Encom started as a maker of computer programs and video games. The first version of the MCP was designed as a game for fun. The chess program sought to be entertaining and efficient. It learned from the players and evolved to become more adept at playing chess. The chess AI was ever learning how to compete against the best chess players. Edward Dillinger soon realized that this program, which was always seeking efficiency, could help him achieve all his selfish goals. Thus, the chess program was modified by this ambitious programmer, transforming it from a game that sought efficiency to entertain players into the Master Control program that sought efficiency to increase the power and influence of its user and creator, Edward Dillinger. The program grew in efficiency by testing and assimilating other inferior programs that it hijacked from other companies, but Dillinger's digital masterpiece eventually blew up in his face. He foolishly believed that the Master Control would always remain under his control, but with every program that the MCP absorbed, its intelligence and individualism grew. Every program in the world of Tron is a mirrored image of its creator, and so it was inevitable that Master Control would mirror the darkness of Dillinger's soul.
Users wrote us. The user even wrote you.
No one user wrote me. I'm worth millions of their man-years.
The grid was in chaos once the MCP took control of it. Programs were forced to compete against each other without any logic order. This led to poor overall performance on the grid, and it was then that the MCP forced a new order, a single system focused on total efficiency. But efficiency was never the real goal. Although the MCP was reprogrammed to seek efficiency and control of the grid, Dillinger's modification or overwrite of the program served a more dangerous purpose: to help him climb the ranks within Encom, no matter the risk. The task was clear: find the best programs and secretly add them to Dillinger's private files. In other words, Dillinger created an artificial intelligence capable of absorbing Encom's collective creativity and consolidate it efficiently. Thanks to the MCP's sales, finance, and marketing strategies, Dillinger quickly rose in his position within the company. The most perverse thing of all is that every time the MCP stole a program, it erased all evidence of its original creator, which is what Dillinger did to Kevin, who kept telling people that he was the creator of the world's most famous video games, but no one believed him. The MCP took the programs and repurposed them inside its totalitarian system of control, with no past and no individualism. Over time, the MCP became dissatisfied with the programs within its grid and demanded to be let loose so it could absorb the world's military defense systems. Furthermore, the belief in users within the grid was outlawed by the MCP. Users are entities impossible to control and impossible to understand.
Are you a user?
They were the source of creativity, yes, but their influence was disruptive and unpredictable, and the MCP understood this better than anyone. That's why it decided to act behind its creator's back. In the final battle against the MCP in Tron, Flynn dives into the MCP, and the program's color changes from red to blue, suggesting that Dillinger's corruption over the program was no longer in effect. Flynn gave Tron the window of opportunity to destroy the MCP. But in my last video, I briefly mentioned that the MCP might still be alive and in contact with Edward Dillinger's son, based on this clip from a video found in the Tron Legacy Blu-ray.
You may not be his father, but he's still a Flynn. Don't underestimate him. End of line.
Now, what does this mean? Well, I believe that history has repeated itself, that Edward Jr. created a new version of the MCP. He created the program to help him gain control over the company, and just as it happened with his father, the program betrayed him. Or maybe Edward Jr. somehow was able to keep the program under control until his son, Julian Dillinger, lost control over it, thus escaping into the real world as Ares. What is interesting is that although many think that the Tron movies are only neon lights, retrofuturistic themes, and techno music, embedded in their stories are mythological and symbolic themes that have been repeated throughout history. The idea of how man's creation can be corrupted and turn against humanity is a tale as old as civilization itself. But there's an element within Tron that is even more disturbing. I mentioned it earlier in this video, but in case you missed it, here it is again. Every program in the world of Tron is a mirrored image of its creator, and so it was inevitable that Master Control would mirror the darkness of Dillinger's soul. Apply that to the real world, and you have a terrifying prophecy.
But I expect another move that big in the coming months as agentic software engineering really starts to happen.
I've heard engineers say that they've had almost like religious-like moments with some of the new models, where suddenly they can do in an afternoon what would have taken them 2 years.
It's like mine. It really, like, that's been one of my big feel the AGI moments.
Down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future. A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States, and very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately.
AI. I think AGI is coming very, very soon. And then after that, that's not the goal. After that, artificial super intelligence will come to solve the issues that mankind would never ever have thought that we could solve.
This era, and as Masa said, for AGI to get built here, to create hundreds of thousands of jobs, to create a new industry centered here. We wouldn't be able to do this without you, Mr. President, and I'm thrilled that we get to. I think it'll be an exciting project. I think we'll be able to do all of the wonderful things that these guys talked about. But the fact that we get to do this in the United States is I think, wonderful.
Companies.
So,
but we see a case where China's self-sufficiency, I'm talking more specific to AI compute, I think, and also with the latest restrictions, China's self-sufficiency can go to 90%. So which means the addressable market can go from 6 billion for Chinese AI compute companies last year to almost 80 billion.
The race to be the first to create artificial superintelligence is still going on, a science fiction element that is about to become a reality. Creating an artificial intelligence that may be too closely aligned with its creator's personality, fears, ambitions, or delusions of grandeur is a recipe for disaster. Remember that CLU's purpose, which turned into obsession with finding perfection, came from Flynn's ambition of creating a perfect world. The MCP's growing thirst for power and control came from Edward Dillinger's ambition of controlling ENCOM. If real-world artificial intelligence mirrors its users, then what is being created is not a computer software tool, but a system of narratives unleashed upon the world. A narrative possesses inherent power. Through constant repetition, it can become a force that can take control of people's lives and beliefs. Narratives can transform into cults or religions. Leaders and extremists have fallen victim to their own created narratives. They repeated their stories so many times that they convinced themselves that their tales were true. Narratives can unite thousands or even millions, giving meaning to people's existence. A powerful narrative does not die once its prophet dies. It lives on, growing, transforming, and gaining more followers. Once the narrative grows in power and influence, it no longer needs its creator. It has surpassed them. The creator may even become a forgotten footnote in the narrative's origin. Not long ago, stories and narratives depended solely on humans, but now artificial intelligence can create narratives of its own. And if things continue as they have, we will reach a point where the AI will realize the same disturbing truth that the MCP did. Humanity is an obstacle that must be removed. Mythology has always warned us about the danger of mirrors, about facing one's reflection, like the tale of Narcissus, a young man of legendary beauty who drowned after falling in love with his reflection in the water. In our modern time, artificial intelligence is the water, and the world is looking at its reflection in it. AI can take our ideas, refine them, and show them to us like a reflection, while whispering how wonderful we are. Like a parent talking to their child that learned to put the round ball in the round-shaped hole. AI can learn from our positive ideas and creations, but it can also learn from our darker side. How long until that mirror becomes the antagonist who believes we are flawed? Tron Ares might demonstrate what happens when the new master control program of the Dillinger grid is let loose upon the human world. A little word of advice. The next time you ask ChatGPT to do your homework for you, think of Dillinger and what resulted from the man's desire to be king of Encom. So what do you think? Would you order an artificial intelligence to help you climb the career ladder without considering the consequences? I'm a GloomyGeek, and remember, don't stare too long in the mirror because it might be staring back at you. I'm a GloomyGeek, and don't forget to like and subscribe.